What is the best audio editing software for podcasts? Very good question, because there's a lot that's involved that can be involved. Anything from options and features all the way to prices and free. Free's always good. Let's start there. By the end of this video, you will have a much better feel for audio programs, what's out there, and a little bit on how you're going to use them. And my personal secret for turning one recording into many social media pieces should save you hours, if not days worth of promotional work. I'm Nick Natarella with AdWise Creative. First of all, there are two different kinds of software out there. There's a kind of software where you can just chop and slice and get rid of mistakes and add maybe some EQ or some compression and maybe even a little reverb or something along those lines, some special effects here, there, and the other place. That would be called audio editing. You're getting rid of the flubs, you're enhancing the audio that you have, and there's also another one out there for audio production. Yes, you can do all of that I just mentioned in the audio production software, but they also have special components and add-ons and stuff like that where you can call up a drum beat. You can create a drum beat. You can maybe add a bass line to it. And I'm not talking about you play the bass and record what you're playing. I'm talking about programming it into the computer that I want quarter notes, eighth notes, this type of beat, blah, 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 blah. You set all those parameters and that gives you the boom, ba-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-dum, boom, ba-dum. Like that, you create that bass line. You create the drum line. You create the keyboard part or whatever, all the instruments. There you design the audio, and that's for music production, but a lot of times they'll call it audio production as well. For editing podcasts, you really don't need to go down the music side. What you need can be handled by those music production software, but what you really are looking for is an editor. You want an audio editor, and there are many of those to choose from as well, so don't think you're getting, the short end of the deal by not having anything to choose from. Trust me, there's plenty out there to choose from. Another one of the major elements to all of these programs is being able to use multi-track editing. What I mean by multi-track, and I actually started with a program that was just one track. That was interesting. But multi-track editing is your first track, let's say, is your voiceover. Your second track is maybe the clapping sound effect that you want in the background. The third one would be maybe a dog barking sound effect, 2 or 3 sound effect tracks, and then finally at the end you've got a music track. I did something like that just the other day for a radio commercial. Voiceover, 3 sound effects, and a music background. Did those just the other day. Those are multi-track editors. You can see all of them. Each track has its own designated element. That way you can adjust volumes, you can adjust special effects, any type of echo, reverb, compression, EQ, all that you can do separately for each line, for each effect or voiceover or music, and then you blend them all together and that gives you your final mix down of audio. In your case, let's look at strictly podcasting. I would probably use, and let's say it's just going to be you. Let's not get into anything fancy. It's just going to be you pontificating for a little while, maybe teaching on something like I'm doing right here. Your first track, let's go ahead and make that your voiceover. Second track, what I would do is put the intro, the podcast intro, and the podcast outro. Chances are those are pre-made elements that I've done in another session. And I've mixed them down and I know they match. So I can put them on the same track. If I wanted to, I could break it down into its component elements. My own voiceover, the background music that I've chosen now as theme music, and those would take up a couple extra channels. And then if I wanted to do some sound effects, depending on the nature of the podcast, you may or may not have sound effects. Now, most of the time, if it's just a chit-chat show, going back and forth, events of the day, or maybe sports podcast or whatever, you're not going to have a lot of background music running under the podcast. You might have a little bit of music, let's say the sports podcast. You got a little baseball theme, and then you talk about baseball. And then you do a football theme. Now you go into a little football song or something like that. Little hits of music here and there. But for the most part, you're not going to have music behind, say, 2 or 3 people talking. So you're probably not going to need that. You could, but I would hesitate to just throw it in for the sake of throwing it in. There needs to be a really good reason to have background music for something like that. Then if there are any sound effects that you want to have in there, again, depending on the nature of the podcast, you probably don't want them. If they're just in there for like, oh, I don't know, let's say you happen to tell a joke, you happen to hit a punchline in the middle of the discussion, and you want to do some kind of a boing sound effect. I don't know, if that's your personality, great, go for it. If it's just a boing for the sake of boing at a punchline because a punchline should have a boing, you might want to think twice about it. May or may not add to the production value. So the multi-track editing is definitely going to show you a much broader view and give you a lot more flexibility when it comes to editing and producing individual episodes. Some of it's already pre-done. Let's say your intro and outro. That's already done. That's finished. You don't need to mess with that. Your particular voiceover is going to be within a certain range of EQ, or it's going to be within a certain range of compression, because you're going to be setting your levels every time and probably be within the same range of level. So if you want, go ahead and put a EQ and compression preset already on that track. You don't have to drag it over there and add it every single time. So now you've created your template, and you can easily do that with multi-track editing and then save it as, say, either a template or a read-only file, so that you can only call it up and not damage the original, and then do a save as to give it a new name, and then you can adjust it from there. So it's easier to just tweak a few adjustments than it is to rebuild the whole thing fresh every single episode. Something to keep in mind, something to help you out in the long run for saving time and effort. Now let's talk about price. There is a wide variety of price. Anything from free, and free is good, especially when you're just getting started and you really don't know if this is the way you want to go. So before you sink a lot of money into it, you might want to check out free, all the way up to hundreds, if not thousands of dollars or more over time, especially in the sense of a subscription. Some programs you can look at for audio. Let's see, I wrote a bunch of them down here. For Apple, there's like GarageBand. Well, GarageBand, and I believe sometimes, I know Reaper's free, but I don't remember if it comes on an Apple machine. GarageBand comes on a Mac. Of course, for free, there's Audacity. In fact, there's also free programs that probably are already on your Mac or PC. Just call up those and start editing with those. And then there are others that you can pay for. Some take a one-time payment, anywhere between $50. There are some that are like a little bit more than freeware that you can just make a donation to. And then there are some others that are maybe $500, $600 and a one-time payment. So if you're debating between $30 a month versus $600 once, me personally, I'm a one and done kind of guy. I'm sick and tired of these subscriptions personally. But outside of that, however you want to work it into your budget, that's the way you can do it. The biggest thing is you can start with something very basic and rudimentary that's going to sound pretty darn good. And if you want to start stepping up and adding more skills to your toolbox and adding more elements to it, for example, you can really get lost trying to perfect your usage of EQ, compression, reverb. Any of those can really take you down a rabbit hole, but especially when it comes to EQ and compression, if you can get those dialed in, it sounds so much better. The results from proper EQ and compression will take you so much further than just messing around. Seriously, save that for later and study up on those two and see if you can't get that dialed in. It will sound fantastic once you start to learn those two. So if you'd like to go over something like EQ or compression, or if there's something in the program that you're using that you want to go over, shoot me a comment down below. I'll get you another video on those specifically, and maybe we can do a deep dive on any one of those adjustments. For example, some of the things that you can also use, you can use EQ to hopefully get rid of maybe extraneous noises or something like that. My personal favorite is when you're looking at the spectrum, the audio spectrum, not just the amplitude, but the actual frequency spectrum. You will see artifacts or certain frequencies that will all of a sudden pop up, or background noise might become a grayed out thing. You can adjust your EQ to help get rid of that background noise and make things sound a lot crisper and cleaner. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and we were talking about background noise. Just picking the right microphone helped eliminate a ton of background noise. Oh yeah, this was my favorite. When I was working at a radio station, one of the salespeople thought he was doing everybody a favor and went out and recorded the client at their business. It was early in the morning, nobody was there. It was just the salesperson, the business owner, the window air conditioning unit they were sitting under. And because it was first thing in the morning, obviously the business owner was cooking their breakfast in the microwave. Ding! His breakfast was ready. Trying to eliminate all that kind of stuff from a voiceover was a royal pain. But you know, the two things that helped me were EQ and compression. It helps a lot when you know your tools and you can do stuff like that to help clean it up. It really, really does. Of course, the best thing is just come into the studio and get a really good, clean recording. I hope that salesperson is listening to this now. 2 other things you can do for yourself. Presets, and I kind of mentioned these a little bit earlier. If there is something, in fact, let's look at EQ. Equalization is maybe adding or subtracting frequencies somewhere in your voiceover to help make you sound a little cleaner. For example, the human ear doesn't even go below about 75 hertz. That would be way down in the bass section. It'd be way down there. But yet the harmonics of your voice are still producing frequencies way down at the bottom. Well, frankly, if you have too much of those bass frequencies in your voice, in the other person's voice, in the music, and all these other things, those bass frequencies tend to build up. And you really don't hear it until it's too late. So what you can do is this roll off until all of a sudden your voice starts to sound a little thin, and then you just kind of back it off a little bit until you're down here. It still sounds natural, but all this low end is gone. It's not building up anymore. So little frequency adjustments like that can help. And what you can do is in your EQ, they probably have a bunch already pre-done. Hit play, start listening to your voice, and then just start going through those presets. And all of a sudden, when you find something that goes really clear, and you haven't made the adjustments, these adjustments are pre-programmed with a title. You go through those titles, and when you find the one that sounds great, save it, and that's the one you use. No adjustment needed. Same thing for compression. Compression can be a very, very complicated thing to use, and it can be very nuanced in its use. And when you get it just right, it's like music unto itself. But if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a train wreck. So again, they've done a whole bunch of them that are preset. You just find the one that sounds the best, save it, done. Go back to that one every single time. Now what you can do is take that EQ setting and that compression setting and put them on the track and leave them there, and then save that whole thing, all your multi-tracks with all those little tiny presets pre-built and pre-positioned, and call that a template. When you've got your template set, all you do is you drop your voiceover in there, adjust a few things. You don't know if that's really going to be the right numbers, but you're only making small adjustments. You're not having to recreate from scratch every single time. Your voice is your voice. It's going to be within this range. So the adjustments are going to be very minor to still stay within that range, and you'll still sound great every single time and save yourself about a half an hour worth of editing. How about that? Now, I promised you my little secret to podcast recording, and when you do this the right way, it will save you a whole mess of effort for all the social media goodness. Are you ready for this? Here we go. Record your podcast in video. If you don't want to use the video, if you don't want a YouTube channel, fine. You peel off the audio and you can just adjust the audio, and that gives you your podcast. But between the video and the audio, you've got a whole bunch of stuff you can just chop up, use these 10 seconds, use these 30 seconds, make sure it's an all-encompassing point, make sure it's a statement or a sentence or a concept that stands on its own from beginning to end. But if you've got a little concept like that, you can start chopping this up and throwing them out there as little reminders and little baits and little stuff like that to point back to the full episode so that people will watch, like, subscribe, whatever it is you want them to do at your podcast. All of these pieces can be easily edited either in your video or your audio software. And since it's your podcast, you already know what you talked about. You can probably make notes while you're recording to know to go back to that and make that a point to edit out later as a teaser. So keep that in mind, keep the list going as you're recording, and half your work is already done. Boom, it's right there in front of you. Get those little pieces out and finalize your episodes. Now, to help you on your software journey, I have a free gift for you, whether it's Apple or PC, let me know, and I have a list of software that you can pick, choose from, gives you a quick little rundown, where to find it, the pros and cons of each. Click the link down in the description and get the Apple and PC audio editing software list. That will definitely help clear up a lot of questions for you. Click below, get your free copy right now. I'm Nick Natarella. Thank you for watching.